This was generally a pretty rough game for me.
Mm-hmm.
I was also having a really hard time last night just hitting Lucio's. I don't know why. Lucio's were impossible to hit last night.
If it's any consolation for the normal human being, Lucio's are always going to be hard to hit.
Lucio's again.
Oh, that's officially 2:30. Okay, so pause it for a quick second.
Yeah.
So you're primarily playing Widowmaker on Numbani, which, as you're very well aware of, is a hard stage to play. Depending on their enemy team and how they play, the things that the enemies you should be looking for are going to be either DPS that are out of position, DPS for support, as well as tanks that have their shield down or their barriers canceled. And I'm kind of cheating by looking at the enemy lineup, but it's still worth effectively noting that just because Orion can't die in, obviously one hit, that
The
they're
good thing
a
about
less of a
their
target.
comp sucks for Numbani. It's also that comp is really easy to abuse on the Widow. I didn't start doing well until a little bit later into the game. The beginning's kind of rough. I wasn't really.
Indeed. Okay. So yeah, the only people that can really challenge you on high ground right now are going to be the Tracer and the Lucio. Otherwise, you should be relatively fine. If you played on high ground consistently.
I didn't even grab the health pack here.
Indeed.
I was about time to back out.
Okay, so go ahead and pause it. In that team fight, looking at the enemy team role or lineup, who should you be prioritizing right now?
No one specifically, really. I mean, they're really all open picks. I should be looking for anything we get.
Accurate, but that's what you're doing right now is
I'm gonna say something who I would target, and you're gonna be confused as to why I'm gonna say that. I'm saying Tracer.
No, I'm not gonna. No, I definitely understand why. It's because she's one of the only people that can target you specifically on high ground, besides the Lucio that's actually DPS. The Lucio, after his first initiation, obviously he can't hit a Widowmaker that's standing still Kappa. So,
yeah, for real though, he sucked.
well, that's why you would focus the Tracer then. Because the Tracer is the only one that can effectively cover a lot of ground and come up on you with DPS and be able to finish you off. The only other targets that are easier for you would be the Zarya, the Moira, the McCree, and the Rhine. But since you took out the McCree at the beginning there, the only people that you should have effectively been focusing, even if the Tracer was there, would have been the Zarya or the Moira, I'd say.
Yeah.
But you primarily focused on killing the Lucio, which you're good at aiming and hitting shots. You're great at Widowmaker, but
I kept fucking missing him.
yeah, he took your attention though, and because of it, you couldn't perform as well as you wanted to.
Oh yeah, of course.
Okay, so high ground is uncontested for you right now.
I heard. Oh my god, that's why I looked that way.
Okay.
After I landed that.
But do you see how the second you stop focusing the Lucio, you're being more effective in overall gameplay?
Oh yeah, of course. I call that out to you and you finish it.
Okay, go ahead and pause it one more time. The only thing I'm going to say that's going to contradict that is that this is a theory, this is all subjectivity. Because the Lucio couldn't hit you in the first bit, you should have collected that Lucio is not able to shoot you, therefore the pressure that's already on you right now should not be as high as it initially was when there was a Lucio and a Tracer able to challenge you, okay?
My only thing against that is I still was technically moving when he was missing. If I stand still and scope on somebody else, he headshots me. At
Okay,
least once.
then
I don't want to risk it.
yeah, if that's the case, you have to keep moving, but that's also a reason to not go for the Lucio because he's going to target you as well as he's going to make it. You're going to be
Oh, yeah,
moving
of
either
course.
way.
The first fight, really, the only reason I was paying so much attention to him is because, like, one, I know I can hit that shot.
Mm-hmm.
Two, he's literally trying to fight me. And in top 500, if I didn't pay attention to him, I'd die within a second.
You're absolutely
It was
correct in that regard.
disgusting.
You're absolutely correct in that if
Fucking
it was top
disgusting
500,
top 500.
yeah, if it was top 500, you'd definitely be able to, or you die instantly if you didn't challenge him back.
I'll see
But
a fucking Mach 5 Lucio triple headshot me with a melee.
indeed, the best thing in this scenario, though, the only thing that we can draw away from it is your analysis of the enemy team and how they're able to perform. Because you're moving and the Lucio wasn't able to hit the triple headshot, that
Yeah.
should initially take pressure off of you.
Yeah, it should. You're right. I definitely could have given more space to find something else other than him. Once again,
Indeed.
more Lucio lives. Literally.
And he also seems to be taking your priority because of the fact that you missed. And I know that that's
Yeah, no,
sometimes
I
how
get
you
that.
function.
He's just playing very fucking poorly, so I wanted to kill him. Oh, this
Indeed.
was unfortunate. I want to talk about that. That
Rest
is
in
fucking
peace,
unfortunate.
those fences.
That was
railing
the
didn't
most
see it coming.
unfortunate moment of this map because both of those shots hit, but the railing.
Can you go ahead and pause it for me right here?
Yeah.
So, fun little fact, this is actually some of the highest ground on Numbani that I know you're already aware of. And
There's
at
higher.
least 80% of the Overwatch cast cannot reach it that have normal abilities that allow them to reach higher. Examples would be Doomfist is unable to reach this. Lucio, by no normal means, would be able to
Incorrect.
reach this just by going up there.
Doomfist can reach this, but you have to be a good Doomfist.
Not only,
You roll
well,
out
he
off the
can
white
reach
card.
this, but not with the use of a singular ability. He's going to use a lot of abilities just to get to
Oh,
you,
yeah,
which places him at natural disadvantage.
Yeah, he has to use all three.
It would never be worth it.
No, it would be on a Widowmaker. If I'm a Widowmaker right here, and so this white car that's right here, he can would normally set up behind the blue car. He'll peek out the front of it.
Are you
punch onto
using the
that.
white car as a ramp?
Yeah, white car's a ramp, and then as soon as he goes up off
Okay.
that, E straight onto you, uppercut kills you. I would die within seconds, and I've had.
So seismic slam uppercut. Okay, but that.
So, as soon
okay.
as he does it, that punch brings him literally to the height of up here. I'm not
Okay.
even lying.
So if that's the case, then it's only worth noting that
But that's a high level
Doomfist,
player.
unless he does that specifically, which is very notable, the only way he can reach you then is by giving up his high ground to go for you, to which you could just null and void by dropping down specifically.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
And, you know, it just, in many situations, it's not worth it. That's probably the only situation where it would be worth it to go for the Widowmaker is if they were carrying as you normally do.
I can't, for this rank, it would never happen.
Exactly. In top 500, once again, it will.
In top 500, like, I'm telling you, people pull some shit. Like, he'll do that ult, and then they'll engage on my team. Like, people will do shit like that all the time, where they'll have a Doomfist rollout like that on a sniper to get them off, and then all of a sudden you'll see like a Diva bomb come out with a Moira ult or some shit, and fight you off.
I agree. I definitely agree.
Like, shit is fucking real. Or oh my god, the
I need to
Doomfist combo with an hand.
I need to update my compendium if that's actually possible for him to roll out like that. But that's aside from the fact. Let's go ahead and continue playing. And furthermore, I mean, I already believe you're going to have the whole positioning on high ground as well as target prioritization there.
Oof 1.
Fence.
Oof 2.
Fence.
Now I keep the fight. As we have a Moira, they technically should be looking at me at that point, but Moira's a little deep.
It is worth noting that if you were on top of that high ground Atria, the Tracer wouldn't have been able to just come straight up to you.
Yeah, you're not wrong. My only reason I kept the fight is that I feel confident getting that.
Indeed, it looked like we were ahead. You can't possibly make that call in
of course.
without premeditation of the event. Okay, go ahead and pause it right there. In most of this engagement, you're now focusing onto the Tracer, who you know already has aggro on you specifically for 80% of the fight. My only question to you is, do you think that taking that corner wide was a good idea, or do you think you should have taken it tightly and waited to confirm
Taking
the
the corner
Tracer?
where she tracer bombed.
Yes. Do you think that what you did was the most optimal decision there?
Let me go back. I wanna make sure I know. I wanna know what I was thinking at that moment. Like I wanna think about how I played that.
Okay.
She only has one blink the time she comes around the corner. If I hit the shot, she has to E because she can't blink out. That was my thinking.
Okay. So, other than that, so you do think that the fact that you took that corner a little wide was okay?
I think it was a good risk.
Okay. In that
One
situation,
of those shots as a player, I feel like I rail that headshot, but I don't miss the body.
indeed.
So
And
if
you
I
ended
hit
up hitting the body, correct?
yeah, I hit the body.
Okay. So, all right. That's one thing that I wanted to consult you on specifically. I couldn't possibly make a call in that regard. I'd rather question specifically to see
That's the whole thing
how
with Overwatch, which is how like a lot of pro players
did
are. Is like,
Orissa's Lake just twitch?
no.
Yes, it did. That was very fucking weird. Okay. Anyways, I have that recorded. I'm putting this up on YouTube later on today, so
you gotta show me that.
I'll fucking send it straight to you as soon as it's uploaded. Let's go ahead and continue onward though.
Oh yeah, one thing like on Overwatch, which I've kind of noticed, is like how there's like Genji's in top 500, but Genji's fucking garbage. It's due to the fact that like those players have that just level of fucking skill and confidence.
I would also argue
Bullshit
along the
shit.
fact that it is easier to float in a level rather than grow or lose
Oh
any,
yeah,
because once you reach that level, there's a solidification in terms of once you get a handle on the level and get 100 SR into the next rank, you have a foothold, and that's how the game will naturally pair you. Where if you start losing, it'll pair you against people that have also been losing, and the algorithm tends to play in your favor to keep you where you are instead of helping you to grow or drop.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Anyways, I do get what you're saying though, and there are Genjis that exist, but there definitely aren't many.
Yeah, no, there's not many at all.
He's definitely not one of the common heroes in top 500 gameplay.
Not at all. I don't see him really ever anymore.
Oh yeah.
This was just fucking terrible all around. Don't mind me. Once again, more terrible gameplay. Oof.
Okay.
Go
ahead and pause it. So one thing to note is that, like Atria High Ground, that area there on the top for the attack or the defenders to come out of on high ground is one of the highest points in the map that Doomfist cannot, which I'm using Doomfist because he's the stereotypical his usage of an ability to be able to reach higher ground is so benchmark for the rest of the cast that have that ability to climb altitude really, really quickly just by using a singular ability. And because of that fact, without using a rollout, Doomfist is not able to reach that higher ground without having to go to the lower ground in the back area, which have the stairs lead down to, or if he has to use multiple abilities in order to get up there where it would be the rollout per se. So in that scenario, normally, if I were you in that case, earlier on in the fight, I would have actually gone up onto the higher ground behind the enemy team, which would have provided me the opportunity to be able to aim down into the enemy team, while also using that high ground as a form of cover. But that's a subjective call, and I definitely would have made it after we killed the Zarya. At least if we got one pick. If it was a 6v5, instantly I'd be up there.
That's fair. I feel that. I agree with that.
Because then that also does lead into this high ground to begin with without using an ability. But
No one can hide from my sight.
Simple ending. Not too much to say about that.
I still have fond memories of me rocking that Reaper in there. Okay, so playing on defense, obviously, you're always going to want to be on high ground as Widow.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, that's a given no matter what, but in this case,
I was
It's-
hoping you could break that pot.
okay.
You can't.
Yeah, pots are inconsistently consistent.
Oh, y'all?
Hello. Bonjour. Hello there. Hello.
Attackers incoming.
This was a mistake on my part. I looked lower. I wasn't there in the beginning, so I couldn't hear the hook. And the Widow was up there silently without me realizing it.
Okay, go ahead and pause. So looking at their team comp right now, what can you tell me specifically about where you should be positioned in this situation? Not just
I'm
from the
going
Widow
to-
alone, but just their team in general.
High ground.
High ground where? Because there's multiple areas of high ground. There's back left, there's back right, there's front left and front right.
Pretty much where I was set up. Like, not where I just died, but where I was saying hi there.
I completely agree with you. Because most teams are likely, especially with Winston's, traditionally speaking, a Winston taking low ground is abnormal. But in most cases, the Winston will be moving if they have a Reinhardt along the top left for high ground. That way, if they wanted to, they could just drop onto point to get anyone that dropped, and if they needed to get out of the situation, they could instantly get back up onto high ground. So that Winston could have dove you immediately and challenged you, and I mean that would have forced you off of high ground, but you would have been relocated over to the right hand side because of the fact that the Winston decided to go under instead of above.
Yeah.
So coming back to the point, your best location would to be, instead of going to the top right here, or top left I should say. Actually, you know, it's not even that big of a deal.
Not with their comp.
Yeah, it's already a one-team fight. In most scenarios, though, I would tell you to go to the top right, because while it would cost a little bit of time, it would give you a better position behind the enemy team that's now facing towards your spawn. And you could get a lot of shock value there. And we'll see that later on. Okay, so the Widowmaker did just respawn. Only person that can challenge you right now is going to be their Lucio, and their Diva. Which, if you get the Jets out just so she can focus you, that's absolutely amazing. But they are stabilizing, so they're also choosing to go main.
I heard the Tracer blink behind me here. I know Steven's peeking me, so once you D-mech, I look for the Tracer. I think I parachuted, yeah, sadly.
So you did die there. Go ahead and pause. And the reason for you, what would you say the reason for your death is?
I mean, generally, I shouldn't be going back onto that high ground. I should be rotating the other high ground due to the fact that I don't really have a healer that can, like, heavily heal me while I'm being dived if I stay in the diving position.
Both of your
And I
healers,
should be realizing that even though the Tracer's up there and I can 1v1 a Tracer, the Lucio has been bullying me all game. He's
And the
probably going to try to bull me again. And I can,
and
well, we
the
killed
baby
the
Diva,
Diva.
obviously.
Fuck the baby Diva.
Fair.
Fuck the damn
But
baby
at this
Diva.
level,
Fuck her
with all
dumbass.
three of them facing you, obviously the Diva's not going to be top priority, and that
Yeah,
in the
but I'm
fact
gonna
that
get-
she's not top priority, she's going to get damage on you nonetheless.
Yeah, I'm gonna get yoink.
And with the fact
was my
that-
mistake.
Yeah, with the fact that you have Moira and a Lucio, which are all close range proximity healers, primarily, it's going to be impossible for you to stay up there and with 3 people on the enemy team as well as a Moira coalescing you.
Yeah.
So go ahead
I
and
was
start
getting
it up.
fucking deleted.
And in this scenario, it's going to be possible for you to be able to effectively go to the back right if we were to push the point. Never mind.
Ow.
If we were to push the point, I would recommend that you go to the top right. So that way you'd be able to get shock value by going behind them. But that's aside from the fact. So these are primarily good sight lines. You know the Tracer's probably coming for you right now.
No one can hide.
As soon as I hear a blink, I use eyes to look for it.
That's as expected. Good awareness, as well as good positioning. Atria isn't going to bring you much value until they go on the offensive, so... Until they do...
Because there's really buggy fucking angles in between that.
Yeah, we got some really good thighs right here. I'm currently pressing onto them. Your kill on that Lucio was huge.
Yep.
Allows me to be able to pressure this Widow and be able to take her down effectively. And here I am just kind of playing risque as hell. Tracer's going far right side. Chooses to double back onto main. He kind of dropped from high ground there.
Yep. I wanted to, because Widow's already seen me there, so she can definitely fire me. Now I know I have Lucio ult, so I know I can peek that and at least get some damage in. Back to the Tracer, didn't really realize where the bomb came from, so I kind of just stuck
Go
it.
ahead and pause. What could you have done to prevent this entire situation from playing out?
Like the Lucio killing me?
Lucio didn't kill you, the Tracer did.
Or not the Lucio, Tracer killed me. Like, is that what you mean?
Well, not only that, what could you... that's primarily the reason, because that's who killed you. But what could you have done in this instance to be able to afford yourself the ability to survive, not only against the Tracer, but against their team in general? Like, what would have been the best valuable decision you'd make?
I don't know.
Personally, I would say using the Atria high ground. That Tracer would have never reached you. And you would have had
You're
an effective
not
cover
wrong.
from the Widow, and their team was pushing, so they were primarily in your point of view. Yes, they could have used the right side.
Good view. Because I never use that high ground on defending, ever.
Normally, well, whenever you're playing against higher levels, they're going to be able to call out the fact that you're on that high ground, and they can nullify you, but their team was primarily focused on our front line in this instance, and while honestly, I feel that like it would have been useful in lower ranks, right? But like higher SR, you're completely right that you shouldn't be using that, you know?
That's fair.
But the thing that you have to realize is that these are just things, that tip specifically and primarily is going to exist only because of the fact that you're confident that you can beat the enemy Widow. The Lucio isn't going for you at all. In fact, he switched over to Xena or Moira. And furthermore to the fact, if you know you can get away with going up onto Atria high ground in lower SR situations, then you can effectively make use of it. But you already have the bases down and covered, that you already know that in doing so in higher SR rank games, you're going to be punished. But in this game, as long as you know that you can do it in this game because you're not going to be punished for it, you don't have to give the enemy the respect they deserve.
That's fair. Yeah, I fuck with that. Actually, that's really good. I wouldn't have even thought of
Fair.
Ryan out here with the real analytics.
But the thing is that I'm concerned about is that, like, I don't want you making a habit out of that at higher ranks unless you're 100% certain of it. Because the worst thing I can do for you, aside from this,
my only thing is, which is why I was so confused. Overwatch, hello? Where'd my Overwatch go?
good question. It's still here for me.
Where's my Overwatch?
You good?
Okay, it's back. Hello. All right. So, My only thing that I gotta say about this instance right here
Here I am.
is that as I'm coming out, see my whole team is here. Now, what do I have up? A Hammond and a Hawk
Mm-hmm.
and a Moira. Well, when the Hog gets over there, the Hog can hear the footsteps. The Hammond should be already taking high ground, and the Moira can at least call some shit. I got no calls. They can hear them up there. And at this point, he should not be able to be peeking me without these people doing something to her.
I just love your crosshair reaction to the Widow. You're just like, what the fuck? Your head just goes up and you start screaming like a screaming llama.
Look at this.
Screaming goat, I should say.
To it too, because I wasn't ready for it.
The only other thing that I can say about that instance is that you could have also taken high ground. You didn't have to go for the tracer there and reveal yourself so much.
Yeah, you're
But-
not wrong.
And loaded.
Other than that,
There's no way
NBD.
I could have played safer. Especially because their Widow was getting most of the traits on me.
Bear in mind, the tracer is probably calling out your location quite a bit.
Yeah, no, she definitely is.
Okay, this is another situation where you can just go to the Atria high ground and the only problem you'll have is going to be the Diva or the Widow. Because now, you're getting good picks though. The enemy team completely avoided you. Until now.
Hook missed the first time, which is unfortunate, and then their Widow does that.
Indeed. But because of the fact that... Go ahead and pause. So because of the fact that the Widow, or just because of the fact that you chose that right side, you had to either commit to going in and actually getting kills on the enemy team, or you had to leave. And whenever you went to the right-hand side there, you kind of sealed your fate, to be honest.
Oh yeah, of course. No, I knew I wanted to die there. I knew I wanted to die. That was the thing.
Can I ask why you wanted to die?
They didn't know where I was. The Ana, I did kill the Ana, but she doesn't know if I'm going back high ground or not, and there's a lot of front focus that they have right now, so I figured I could get one more. Saw the Tracer. Tracer had good awareness.
My question to you then is, if you went to high ground, what would your scenario been then?
If I went to high ground early, Diva dived me immediately.
If Diva dives you, the Widow would be up there too, so you'd probably kill the Widow, correct?
No, I would lose.
You would lose to the Widow? Because the Diva didn't know you were there until you shot the Tracer.
Yeah, but guess what? If I went high ground, they hear the hook. Diva immediately dives me.
But you didn't even need to
Widow's
hook if you just took the stairs to your left.
Their Widow's gonna hear me. Then I technically could win it.
You could have killed the Widow. The Diva would have dove you, correct?
I don't know if high rank if they're not gonna hear that or not. I mean,
they're definitely not. Well,
definitely
the
gonna
chances of
hear
them
it,
hearing it
course.
are going to be significantly less the lower SR you go. But
Yeah.
the thing about that entire situation is because you chose to go balls in, your best bet would have been, if you wanted to maximize your survivability while also going balls deep, you could have gone up there and gotten extra collateral on the Widow as well. Like you took out the Ana, you would have taken out the Widow. Possibly. You would have had a chance at fighting the Widow, and that right there is worth.
What? And then I could have dropped. Yeah.
And then the Diva would have had to use jets to come up to you.
Yeah, that would have been the better play. I could walk up and take that 1v1 as long as I hit it fast. I could drop down to health back and then hopefully be able to get one more.
But that requires an extreme sense of awareness on your end, and just the fact that you're already aware of the fact.
That's definitely something I could have been aware of. I could have known to made that play. Instead, I think I tunnel visioned a little bit.
Okay,
yeah, that's
fair enough.
I fuck with that. I fuck with that.
You're definitely not using high ground a lot. Do you expect the enemy team to notice you're on high, or automatically know you're on high ground?
I expect them to be watching for it. They're on Diva, they're on Widow. I'd rather be low ground because the Widow always pre-fires not high ground. Now, let me explain that, because to a lot of people that might look like I'm fucking trolling. My Lucio just beated. I literally heard her hook. I know she's there. That's why I immediately pre-aimed the shit. I have beat. I win an engagement no matter what.
The widow's
Only
Indeed.
reason I did that.
No, I'm not gonna discredit you for that. That was a good play on your part.
But yeah.
It definitely, I didn't consider it to be trolling.
Wait, the auto was hiding in there? What?
Yeah, the Ana was on the right hand side there.
What's she doing?
She's trying to run to the point. Oh no, she just gave up. She gave up. That Ana lost the will to live in this game.
That's not good. Now, which one do you want to go over next?
I actually have class in 30 minutes.
Fuck Ryan!
Dude, my bad. I would love to go over more with you though.